Welcome to what's basically the first produced episode of Come and Brew It, a video series produced by Stubby's Texas Brewing Inc. in an effort to help and maybe even entertain all our home brewing brethren. In this episode, we decided to experiment with 4 different English dry yeasts on the same 10 gallons of our Johnny's English Ale Kit. It started with a Herms demo for a group of our interested customers at the shop and led to tastings by a few questionable characters and several highly qualified judges of the 2014 Bluebonnet Brew-Off, including Grant Wood of Revolver Brewing. So we hope you enjoy this first episode and this first experiment.
All right, guys, after a great turnout to our Herms demo, we decided to break out our wort into 4 different vessels and try out our new Mangrove Jack Craft Series dry beer yeast. We also tried it against our SO4, our old Safe Ale SO4 that you guys are all familiar with. Try to compare them and see what kind of differences we could get between the 2 different kinds, or the 4 different kinds of yeast. Once we got all of the beer done and had them fermented at the same temperature and bottled them all exactly the same, we had a panel of really experienced judges taste them and compare notes against one another and see what we came out with. What follows next is our official sit-down blind taste testing here at the shop, and to really try the different types of yeasts and the different esters that we get against one another. And if you guys are familiar and a big fan of all the other dry yeasts that are available out there, you might be surprised at the results that you get from the following tastings.
Hi, I'm Matt.
I'm Greg.
I'm Mikey.
We all work here at the shop. We're here to taste these beers today. We did, 10 gallons of wort, cut into 4 different versions with different yeasts, and we're just going to try to find out in a blind tasting, see what we like best.
Let's do it. Let's go.
All right. When we first bottled this, the Burton was the favorite because it had the best overall flavor, just flat, before bottle conditioning. And then probably gradually followed after that to where the SO4 was the least favorite because no flavors were coming out. Everything seemed matted compared to the rest of them. And then the British, I think, was probably the favorite at the time, followed by the Newcastle, because the Newcastle seemed extra sweet at that point in time. And it's gotten only better in the bottle. The British is great. Both of these seem to be really easy to drink, the British and the Newcastle. While the SO4 is better now than it was then.
Yeah.
These guys didn't get to taste that at the point back then.
I've seen some of the tastings and seen
I had
04 go on the far end, and I've seen the Burton Union place higher, and today it's just...
Doesn't seem to be aging very well.
Yeah.
But they all came out well.
All.
None of these are bad beers. If you had to put them in order.
When you taste them side by side like this, individually, that would be a good beer versus that. But when you try them all together, all of a sudden you really start seeing differences, and that's when you can place a ranking. If I had them separately, I would have a real difficult time telling you, I like that one over that one.
Yeah, if you had tried these all on different days, they'd probably all be real similar. Probably wouldn't really notice much of a difference. But it's interesting to see how different they are all 4 together.
Were you surprised by the placement of the SO4? I mean, since that's pretty much a standby for an English ale yeast.
When I first tried it, I was, because I've used that so much as for my dry yeast. That's the only English ale yeast you really could get. That's the only one I used, and I really liked it. I liked the results of it before, and side by side, it's when I tried the first time, it didn't rank as high. It's gotten higher since then, but yeah, I was surprised on how it ranked with everybody else.
I think I was a little surprised too. It's been a standby yeast for me, a go-to for even non-British styles.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I like how clean it typically is. I like how quickly it ferments. I know its characteristics, so it's predictable to me. And the Mangrove Jacks, it's new, so I don't know the characteristics as well, but I can easily see using them a lot more often.
Mm-hmm.
And now with the variety of yeast, it's easier to, instead of SO4 for everything, we now have the ability to really fine tune the dry yeast towards your beer style.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And a lot more variety overall with that. Yeah, the SO4 to me, I mean, I've used that more in dark styles than anything else. So I was surprised, honestly, that it had the least amount of flavor out of the group. So, I mean, that alone is strange to me. But the others really made it pronounced. But then that's been the same with all the mangrove jack yeast so far that we tried. They're all really clean.
Yeah, I'd be curious doing the same type of experiment with like a porter, or doing the same type of experience with like an English IPA to see how a really malty beer would showcase, or how a really hoppy beer, not really hoppy, but a much hoppier beer. Which one showcases hops? Which one showcases malt? This is a good base beer because it kind of it's not hoppy, it's not real malty. It's a pretty low key beer to try these on. You really get a lot of yeast character, but even in beers where you don't get a lot of yeast character, some yeast showcase malt better, some yeast showcase hops better. I'd be curious how these
do the exact
same.
I
feel like the Burton might have a chance if we do something different.
Yeah,
it might be the winner, actually.
I don't think it's a bad yeast. I think it's just this particular experiment, this particular beer
might not be.
It just didn't. Yeah, you're right. It wasn't well suited for this particular one.
Well, and Burton is one of those regions where they have their own water, so maybe it's one of those things where this yeast would benefit from that style of water and that style of beer. Yeah. So it could be one of those things that's just it's style dependent or ingredient dependent.
Definitely, but overall, I guess
it was a good experience. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to do this
again. Looking forward
to
the next one.
Yeah. Next up, we went to the 2014 Bluebonnet Brew-Off, the largest single-site homebrew competition in the United States and the first leg of the Lone Star circuit of homebrew competitions. And a hell of a good time. But we won't go into as much about the Bluebonnet this episode because we were hunting qualified judges and we found quite a few, but could only use one session in this episode because, I mean, face it, homebrewers and pro brewers, they love to drink beer and they love to talk about it, and they can go on forever. But check back soon for more on Bluebonnet and a award talk with a few of the winners from our local homebrew club, the Cap and Hare.
Woo! Guacamole! What we're going to do is we actually have a special guest with us today, Grant Wood from Revolver Brewing down in Granbury, Texas. And then we have a few of our local homebrewers here in the Metroplex that are going to do some of our beer evaluations. So we just start with Nick over here. Tell us a little bit about your homebrewing and, if you have a BJCP rank, and then we'll go around the room and just talk about that a little bit.
So my name's Nick Goodman. I've been brewing for about 11 years now. I've been doing beer judging for about 9 years. I'm a certified BJCP judge. Beer styles I prefer probably would be German lagers, to some English bitters and whatnot. And experience-wise, I've started with extract and pretty much jumped right from extract all grain and kind of never looked back.
My name's Kyle LaPointe, also certified beer judge. Been brewing probably about 8 years now, so not quite as long, but judging a little less than that, 6 years. Been brewing lots of different styles over the years, having a lot of fun with it, judging quite a bit, and I was director of the Bluebonnet last year. Not really, but I wrote the program, and this guy was the director, and I changed his name to mine because it wasn't. Anyway, but no, it's looking forward to this judging.
I'm John Mosier. I've just been brewing with these guys for the last 2 years. I've been retailing beer for 6 years now, though, and I've done some judging over the last couple of years.
Aren't you assistant?
Certified beer server, working on level 2.
Okay,
yeah.
Good.
And I'm also working on my BJCP.
Grant, do you want to tell us anything about you other than you're a pro brewer?
Yeah, been brewing a long time. Started a Pearl Brewing Company in San Antonio, and then Lone Star, and then left there after 10 years and went to Samuel Adams and was a brewer for Sam Adams for 16 years, and then came back to Texas and started a brewery called Revolver Brewing Company, and I am a certified Cicerone too.
Fantastic. All right, guys. Well, let's start with which one ever you guys would like to start with.
Earthy.
If I got to grade them just on aroma, the green cap is very nice aroma.
I think it's more classically English if you're going for an English style.
And that was the
green.
green one?
The green one is definitely that. I gotta work my way down.
It's clean and bready with just a hint of a
Yeah, it's got a
mild
lot of earthiness to it. It's got a nice
earthy
firm bitterness. It
Firm
kinda
bitterness,
lingers,
yeah. I mean, it definitely, it reaches through the palate. You know, it's got the maltiness that kind of fades there, you know, as you're drinking it, but the bitterness lingers.
That second one aroma is dramatically different. I mean,
Isn't it?
it's
also
super fruity.
but it's also
It's like
on
a
the
stone
flavor.
fruit kind of.
It's got some tartness as well. There's a little bit of a. I think the pH is probably a little lower on yellow.
Uh-huh. Oh, and then that's on the yellow one?
Yeah, it a little bit, like I said, sharper. It allows
Tannic.
just that little acid pop.
Yeah.
That's kind of at the back or sides of the tongue.
Interesting.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It almost makes it taste thinner, but it doesn't feel thinner. Just almost makes it taste thinner.
They all finished relatively dry. There's one that did finish at 10-12. Everything else was below that.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I think that would be this one. This one, if you're thinking of English,
Right.
I would think the green or the first one is kind of classic to me. That
Yeah.
bready.
Right.
It is a little bit drier, but it has the more caramel bread type notes. The silver is also there,
Close.
Yeah.
but it's just not as pleasant, I guess. I don't
The hops don't come
Flat,
through.
though.
Yeah,
The
it's
hops
kinda
don't come
dull.
through quite as much in
Kinda
the silver
dull,
as
yeah.
the green.
And there's a acetaldehyde, kind of a green apple note on that. Some people think of diacetyl when they
Yeah.
get that, but it's really more green apple. And again, that's sort of a classic English cask ale thing that happens. You know, if you tap a cask ale and it sits for about a week, you'll begin to get those green appley kind of notes. So that one has that. That sort of tastes like a little bit older cask ale.
Right.
I think the red has similar characteristic to that as well. Just a little more amplified.
It's kind of sweet.
Yeah, like the silver is basically like a stale version of G. There's not slightly older version.
But yeah, the
Stale.
red is also kind of it's sweeter.
Yeah, I'd say the red definitely has that. It's more malty
Yeah.
all around. It's got more.
Yeah, the crispness is completely different on this one. It's these two are real sharp.
But conversely, it also is sort of solventy. It also has kind of a weird. It's not alcoholic, but it has a fermented note that's reminds me
lard,
of solvent.
red one.
That's hard.
Yes.
And
Slightly boozy.
so yeah, it's kind of
So that was the one that-
boozy or that nail polish.
It
kind of.
had something in the aroma that none of us were quite able to place, but it's definitely along the solventy, or it could be acetaldehyde, but it's not the same as that silver beer. I definitely like the green the best. I mean, that one's all around a good beer.
It's nice and bready.
And the yellow and the silver are both nice too. The red it's got some issues. I'm not a huge fan of it.
I'd probably go green, silver, yellow, red.
Green, silver, yellow, red. Okay.
Yeah, green's definitely my favorite. I keep going back to the yellow though. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that would be second or not. There's things I like about it. But if you're going to be going, I guess it depends on how you're judging it. Are you judging it to style? Are you judging it to the beer that you want to drink?
That's kind of what I think is interesting in this experiment is you guys I kind of like doing this as a blind test because I kind of have preconceived notions of what I'm supposed to be tasting, whereas you guys don't, right? So
Well, we don't have the style guidelines.
Just
right.
picking a beer I want to drink.
But
ready to go on,
but
right?
I think I would like to know what you think is best classics to the classic style.
I like them in the order that they're poured and that we drank them. I like green, yellow, silver, red.
Okay.
But I mean, the yellow and the silver, they're both unique. They're different in their own ways, and they're both very good.
But I mean, overall, is it pretty amazing the differences?
Yes.
Those?
Well, and I think green is a notch above what the other ones are.
I think I'm with Nick, where I like the silver more than the yellow.
Yeah, I think they're closer.
The fruit one was really
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the green, silver, yellow, red. I don't like the red really much at all.
No.
Yeah.
This doesn't make a really nice beer. I'm trying to think of where I've tasted that flavor before. There's also some acetaldehyde in this, but because of the tartness, I don't know if it just kind of blends in with it or what.
Right.
But if you were making, like, if you're shooting for a more refreshing kind of summer English style ale, summer ale, yellow would probably serve you very well.
I think it's that
really
that carbonation also adds to the acidity because it's heavily carbonated.
Yeah,
The
it
thing
definitely
that's
showed
me
more
about
foam.
the yellow one is it has
Okay,
it's like
so
this lemon rind.
what I'm going to do
Yeah.
now is I'm going
That
to
I
give
don't
you
dig.
guys the great reveal and let you know
cool.
exactly what yeast or what you're tasting. Okay, you guys liked
Green.
the green the best. That is the new Mangrove Jack British Ale. Okay.
Nice.
And then which ones did you like the best?
Probably silver.
Silver was
but
the resounded.
Okay, that was the Newcastle Dark Ale. Now that's the one that didn't finish as dry as the other two. Okay, it finished at about 10, 12.
Wow.
This has a little, of course, it is known to have less attenuation than the other three, right? Okay. And then the yellow was Burton Union, it was a Burton Ale yeast. Okay. And then the red was SO4, the one that you guys are all really common with. So,
Safel? Really?
yeah. So this is one of the things I thought this was really surprising because I always really liked that yeast. And
Oh yeah. I've used it to great success.
And that's what I think this has been the consensus of most of the people that I've let taste this is they think, it's not a bad beer. It's just not as good as the other ones.
Right.
If you just put that beer on the table and told me to drink it, I'd give it mediocre reviews.
Right.
I wouldn't say you did a bad job with that beer.
Right.
But giving us, and especially trying the green one first,
Yeah.
I think
It probably has a lot to do with the style you're doing too, because whenever I've used SO4, it's been in heavier, maltier beers.
Right,
I've liked it, and this one I think works better with those other.
And that's interesting because one of my favorite beers is London Pride. I love that beer. And man, when I tasted that, when I tasted the green or the British Ale, I really thought, man,
That's one.
Yeah.
that's that bready flavor that you get.
yeah, you
right?
get the bread in the
English
smell, and
ale
you get the
yeast,
bread
yeah.
in the flavor.
So-
you can drink pints of that.
And I've made English bitters a million times with SO4. I always thought they were good. I never thought they were great, but I really did think that made a big
It's interesting
difference.
too how low carbonated or how much lack of carbonation there was in that green as well.
Right.
And I wonder if that was actually better for this.
Maybe.
It made it better to have less.
But
carbonation.
I thought it was pretty interesting. The differences that you got from the different yeasts, and we greatly appreciate you guys helping us out for this.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this mostly first episode of Come and Brew It. Come back to check out our shop blog and watch for future episodes covering a variety of experiments, discussions with home and pro brewers, conferences and festivals, and good straightforward love of brewing and beer. Now get out there and brew.
Okay, so let me get this in focus.
Can't work under these conditions.